The average new car in America now costs over $48,000. That's more than a full year's salary for most Americans. At the same time, the automakers selling those cars are posting record profits while also announcing massive layoffs and factory closures. The giants that built the 20th century, Ford, GM, Toyota, are watching their market share crumble as new competitors appear from out of nowhere. What if the very innovations meant to save these companies are actually the things pushing them off a cliff? For more than 100 years, the auto industry was a symbol of industrial might. These companies survived world wars, recessions, and oil crises. But today, they face a threat unlike any before, and it's a threat they've largely created themselves. The strategies they're betting their future on might just be the ones that lead to their collapse. Let's break down how the auto industry's own decisions are brewing a perfect storm. First, let's talk about the electric revolution. It was always going to happen. But the way traditional automakers have dived in has been a masterclass in miscalculation. The investment numbers are almost unbelievable. Ford has committed $50 billion to its EV transition. General Motors, $35 billion. Volkswagen went all in with $100 billion. This is the largest industrial pivot in modern history. Here's the problem. Most of these companies are losing a shocking amount of money on every single electric vehicle they sell. In the second quarter of 2023, Ford lost $64,000 for every EV that left the lot. General Motors burned through $14 billion on its Ultium EV platform before it even sold a single car. These losses are hitting at the worst possible moment. Their traditional cash cows, gas-powered SUVs and trucks, are starting to see sales decline. This creates a financial vise. The old products are making less money, and the new products are losing a fortune. The old industry model of spreading development costs over millions of cars just doesn't work when EV sales are still relatively low. Tesla spent years perfecting one platform before it expanded. The legacy automakers are trying to launch multiple, complex platforms all at once. Even worse, the technology is moving so fast that the billions they're investing today might be for obsolete tech by the time they start making a profit. The first generation of EVs from these classic brands are already being outperformed by newer, more efficient cars from startups. It's an impossible equation. Spend billions on tech that will soon be outdated, all while trying to keep shareholders happy. And if a disastrously expensive EV transition wasn't enough, the industry stumbled right into another self-made crisis: subscriptions. In a desperate search for new money, car companies created the software-defined vehicle. That's a fancy term for a car where features that used to be standard are now locked behind a monthly paywall. BMW sparked global outrage when it tried to charge $18 a month for heated seats. Seats that were already physically installed in the car. Mercedes-Benz asked for $1,200 a year to unlock the full performance a car was already capable of. The backlash from consumers was immediate and brutal. A 2023 survey found that 75% of car shoppers said they would flat out refuse to pay monthly fees for features. 65% said they would switch brands just to avoid them. This strategy fundamentally misunderstands the psychology of owning a car. A vehicle is the second biggest purchase most people will ever make. The idea that a company can remotely turn off a feature you thought you owned feels like a betrayal. And it's backfiring financially. While these subscriptions have brought in some revenue, it's been wiped out by declining customer loyalty. Brands that got aggressive with subscriptions saw their customer defection rates jump by up to 20%. Instead of a brilliant new revenue stream, they damaged decades of brand loyalty and opened the door for competitors to promise simple, all-inclusive pricing. This epic miscalculation on subscriptions came at the worst possible time, right as these same companies were alienating customers with another pricing strategy. During the pandemic, supply chain chaos created a shortage of new cars. Most automakers and their dealers saw this not as a problem, but as a golden opportunity. They jacked up prices to levels never seen before. The average new car price shot up from $38,000 to over $48,000 in about 2 years. Dealer markups of $10,000 or $20,000 over sticker price became normal. At the same time, manufacturers cut back on discounts and stopped making their cheaper, less profitable models. In the short term, it worked perfectly. Ford, GM, and Stellantis reported some of the highest profit margins in their history. But the long-term damage is only now becoming clear. First, they created an affordability crisis. The average new car payment is now over $700 a month. Nearly 15% of Americans have been completely priced out of the new car market, and auto loan delinquencies are at their highest level since the 2008 financial crisis. Second, by abandoning affordable cars, they created a huge vacuum at the bottom of the market. A vacuum that new, aggressive competitors are rushing to fill. But perhaps most damaging of all, they destroyed consumer goodwill. A recent study found that 62% of car shoppers felt taken advantage of during the pandemic price surge. 40% said they would now actively avoid the brands they felt were gouging them. Now that inventory is back to normal, many people are simply refusing to buy, creating a demand cliff for the industry. This series of bad decisions, from EV losses to subscription backlash to price gouging, is made even worse by a foundational pillar of the industry that is crumbling, the dealership model. For a century, the franchise dealer network was the auto industry's backbone. But today, that network of 18,000 dealers is becoming a massive liability. Tesla proved that selling cars directly to consumers can cut distribution costs by around 10% per vehicle. Without dealer markups and franchise fees, Tesla has retail margins that traditional car makers can only dream of. The numbers show the gap. Legacy automakers spend, on average, $2,000 per car on dealer support and incentives. That's a cost new direct-to-consumer companies simply don't have. The franchise laws that once protected these companies now trap them. While new players like Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid can sell directly to you, Ford and GM are legally bound to their dealers in most states. It's an unfair fight where the legacy players are carrying an extra burden. This old model also complicates the EV transition. Many dealers don't want to invest in charging stations or retrain technicians for cars that require less maintenance and offer lower profits. On top of it all, consumer preferences have changed. But the final, and perhaps greatest, threat comes from a place many Western automakers ignored until it was far too late: China. For decades, the giants of the auto world dismissed Chinese car companies as makers of cheap knockoffs. That assumption has turned out to be catastrophically wrong. In record time, Chinese automakers have transformed from imitators into innovators. BYD now produces more electric vehicles than Tesla. Brands like XPeng and Li Auto offer driver assistance systems that rival the best in the world, but at a much lower price. The numbers are staggering. In 2023, Chinese brands took 60% of their own domestic EV market. That same year, China overtook Japan as the world's largest auto exporter. Their advantage is built on two things: cost and speed. The average Chinese EV costs nearly 50% less to produce than its Western equivalent, thanks to government support and owning their entire supply chain. And they are unbelievably fast. A Chinese automaker can take a new car from concept to production in about 2 years. For a traditional manufacturer, it's closer to 5. This allows them to adapt to new technology and consumer tastes with incredible agility. As Chinese brands expand across Europe, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, they are putting immense pressure on Western automakers in markets they used to dominate. So where does this leave us? The auto industry is at a breaking point. The companies that defined the 20th century are trapped in a perfect storm they created. Massive, unprofitable EV investments. Widespread consumer backlash against their pricing and subscription schemes. An outdated and expensive dealer model they can't escape. And now, a wave of formidable, fast, and affordable competition from China. Any one of these problems would be a major crisis. All of them together could be an extinction-level event. The next 5 years will likely see bankruptcies, mergers, and a radical reshaping of the entire industry. The great irony is that the industry's frantic attempts to innovate their way into the future may be what ultimately makes them obsolete. In their rush to change, they may have simply engineered their own demise. If you found this analysis interesting, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces reshaping our world. What do you think? Are the old guard of the auto industry doomed, or will they find a way to adapt and survive? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for listening.